What's up everyone, Willie Apple here, and today we're going to be talking about the odds of features being used by the general public in iOS 26. Alright, so the first one is actually Apple Intelligence features. We're talking about live translation. So live translation is a feature that's going to be coming to FaceTime messages and the phone app. It's basically going to be translating stuff in real time, which I don't know why it needs Apple Intelligence for this, but it is what it is. So obviously this is limited to an iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16 and newer, so it's obviously going to be dipping just because of that. But based on those people alone, we're going to be seeing how much people will be using it for. So basically the only thing I can think of for this is that if people have a bilingual friend or they need to contact people overseas. So that is why I'm saying about 20% of people will be using this, assuming everybody were to have an iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16 or newer. Next, visual intelligence will also be getting screenshots. So if you take a screenshot, you'll be able to circle stuff. I think that is going to be a lot higher feature and a lot more well-liked of those who have Apple Intelligence on their phones. People who have an iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16, I'm going to say around 30% of people will use that feature. They'll take a screenshot and then they'll just circle whatever they want. Next, we're going to be talking about Genmoji and image playgrounds, and to be honest, I have not seen anybody but one person who's actually an Apple enthusiast send me a Genmoji. And I just think image playground is just a gimmick, and I don't really see people using it a whole lot. So that is why I'm saying the Genmoji updates will only be 3%. Image playgrounds also 3% as well. Mainly for people who are interested in Apple Intelligence itself, not for the average user, to be honest. Now the next one I see is going to be a lot higher usage, and it is polls and typing indicators in group chats. So before, you needed to have a separate polls app in order to have polls inside the messages app. Well, that's no longer the case. You're able to just make a poll, and then people will be able to vote on that poll inside the group chat. I think people are going to use that quite often. So people will be like, what should we get for dinner today, for example? And then they'll just have a bunch of options, and then they'll be able to choose just like that. I'm going to say around 40% of people will use that, a lot higher than Apple Intelligence features, but also pretty reasonable. Now the next one is typing indicators in the group chat. People will like it at first, and then it will eventually become the new norm. So that's why I'm saying around 70% of iPhone users will be using that feature, because most iPhone users should be in a group chat. Otherwise they have no friends or something. I don't know what to say. Get friends. Now the next one is actually widgets in the car. Now personally, I don't see a lot of people using it, and it's overall pretty hard to set up. You have to do it on your iPhone inside of CarPlay settings. When I was using the feature for the first time, I was trying to set all my widgets to Willy widgets, and I had to tap and hold, and that just didn't work. I just had to go inside of settings later on and then adjust the widgets just like that. So that is why I'm saying around 20% of normal iPhone users will be using this feature. They'll probably swipe and then they'll use the default widgets, not custom made ones like in Willy widgets and stuff like that. Now the next one is adaptive battery saver mode. I'm going to say that this is going to be used by around 30% of iPhone users. Now, this is only including the people who have access to this feature, so I'm pretty sure this is iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 16 and newer for some reason. But basically what this does is that it analyzes your usage and then it saves battery just like that. I have a feeling this will be turned on by default on the iPhone 17 Air. But other than that, people need to turn it on themselves. So I'm going to say around 40% of iPhone users will be using this feature pretty often. Keep that in mind. I say the word often for these features. Not just once or twice, but often. Now the next one's the phone app redesign. Now it is actually opt-in, believe it or not, and then you can choose between the classic or the normal view. Personally, me, I don't really like the normal view, the new one. I personally might switch over to classic. It just seems way too simple, you know, and everything is just right at the tab bar on the bottom. So that's why I might be switching to classic pretty soon. So I'm going to say only around 20 to 10% of normal iPhone users will be using the new version of the phone app, and the rest will just be using the classic version of the phone app. Because a lot of people just don't like change, especially newer users. So that is why not a lot of people will be using the new phone app. Now, call screening and hold assist, on the other hand, call screening I can see being used a lot. For call screening, I'm going to say around 40% of iPhone users will be using this feature pretty often, where it's basically that your iPhone calls a person and asks why they're calling, what their name is, and then we'll let you know, and then we'll let you answer the call or not. Now, hold assist, on the other hand, personally, I don't get in hold a whole lot. and I was going to try it, but then I had to go on the phone for a doctor's appointment. And I just didn't want to risk needing to call and go on hold again. If it detects music, I think around 25% of people will be using this feature, and then it will eventually drop down to 10%. The reason why I say this is that what if you don't pick up the phone fast enough with hold assist? What if you're like, thank you for calling, this is whoever, and then nobody just picks up? So that is why I'm saying only 10% of users will be using this in the long term. Meanwhile, 20% or maybe 30% of users will be using this at first. So that is why I don't see a huge feature in call screening. Now the next one is the auto mix feature. So it is turned on by default, and we're going to be counting Apple Music users only for this one. I say around 10% will even notice a difference, because I have it turned on and I am just pretty annoyed by it, where I've just tried to skip a song when it's trying to auto mix and it just immediately plays the next song instead of plays the song after, which I have to press skip twice for that, which is kind of annoying. Hopefully that gets fixed in the future beta, but I think only around 10% of people will be noticing that there's a difference, because for some reason song artists like to have a little gap at the end of the song where it's just completely blank. So that is why I'm saying not a lot of people will be seeing this feature being used, and that it's just gonna switch to the next song faster. So that's why I only say 10% of Apple Music users will see that this is even a thing. Now, how many users will be annoyed by liquid glass? I'm gonna say around 60% at first. 40% will be like, finally the iPhone is modern and stuff like that. But the rest of the people, they're gonna be like, why is my phone different? Why does it look so glass-like? Why does it look like it's from the 2000s, for example? But everybody will obviously be using this, so this is a 100% adoption rate for people using it. But a lot of people will definitely notice it's there. And I say pretty much everyone will notice it's right there. Now, the layout hasn't changed a whole lot, but it definitely is not a change from iOS 6 to 7 like that. It's more like taking iOS 7 and going straight to iOS 18. That's how much change there is. Not a whole lot, but still a significant amount that people will probably need to worry about it. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you agree with this list, and if you're an average user, let me know what features you're most excited about. And thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Download my apps in the description down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!